So we are back again. Hello, testing. Yes, I can. Okay, cool. So thank you for joining us again. I'm Rudolph Moncrieff. I'm head of content and communications at the Telecom Infra Project. I'm joined by Ranganatha Swamy from HCLTech. I'm going to talk about SI and the role of SI in end-to-end networks. And let's just kick right in. Ranga, SIs have always played a critical role in mobile infrastructure. But what's changed? What's different that's happening at the moment?
Rudolph, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. And we are excited to be at the TIP Pavilion. Before I answer that question, just want to kind of give a quick overview of what we are doing in TIP.
Sure.
So we have been building some applications in TIP RIA community. We also have been participating in some OOPT and Open Wi-Fi discussions.
Cool.
I just wanted to just set that context.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And to answer your question, see, traditionally, SIs have been building competencies on vendor-specific products. And they have been responsible for integrating vendor products with the operators' network systems and the other IT systems. And they also have been doing the same thing for enterprises as well. So what has changed now with this is with the disaggregated and distributed architecture.
Right.
SIs have a broader role to play. They have to have the mantle of integrating open hardware with the software architecture and also integrate the entire system, and then take that system and integrate with the rest of the operator and enterprise network. So in a way, the role is shifting left. So this, we call this as a shift left in SI ecosystem.
Sure.
So SS in that way have a very important responsibility in ensuring that the networks are deployed efficiently.
Right. No, that's very interesting, and it leads on to my next question really nicely. As part of that, one of the emerging criticisms of open and disaggregated networks is that we're moving away from vendor lock-in to SI lock-in. Now, how can we address that misconception?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. There is this misconception that now this operators and enterprises getting locked with the vendors will move to, say, SIs. So there is this concern in the community that the operators and enterprises get locked with the SIs rather than with the vendors. That's a genuine concern. But from our point of view, from HCL as one of the leading system integrators perspective, when SI implements or when it assumes this role of integrating certain network elements or integrating hardware with the software from different vendors, there should not be any what we call SI lock-in. In the sense, there should not be, say, SI specific proprietary tools that are required for integration. The integration should be seamless and it should be open. So with the disaggregated architecture, as we all know, the systems are getting disaggregated and distributed, and RAN is the last frontier to be conquered. Exactly. In a way. So until recently, RAN was also not disaggregated. Now we have disaggregation of RAN. The elements are getting disaggregated as well. So entire DUCU function is now getting more softwareized with the introduction of RAN intelligent controller. So now SIs will have to play a role in integrating those RIC layer with the underlying DUCU functions. They have a broader role to play. So when you integrate these network elements, either within the system or across the system, there is a need to have a sophisticated approach, not to have any vendor-specific or the SI-specific tools in the integration process. That way you can avoid vendor lock-in or SI lock-in, the new term for lock-in. And there is a certain framework for this. We believe that vendors have to follow certain, or SI have to follow certain best practices to avoid that lock-in.
Right, and that's super interesting. And before I ask my next question, but in a way, I just want to point out, in a way you're saying it's kind of, SIs have to be open in the same way as the hardware is open, so that you can switch out an SI with an SI essentially. So like over the life cycle of your network, you actually have a lot of freedom, and it's not, and you're not just not locked into the one SI. That's super interesting.
Absolutely.
And you were talking about some of those key elements. Like, so what are those key elements that of the SI framework that operators and enterprises need to adopt for a successful deployment of open and disaggregated and distributed 5G networks?
Absolutely. So to ensure that there's no lock-in for the SIs, right, there is a need to have what I call the sophisticated framework that starts pretty much the initial phase of the entire network life cycle, say starting from the design to build and to operate, right? So there is a need to have, say, an end-to-end overarching automation framework that is open, that is open for operators and enterprises using the underlying network. And it's from design perspective, there is a need to have robust design capabilities with the in-depth knowledge on disaggregated distributed architecture. There is a need to have competencies across TIP, ORAN kind of ecosystem architecture principles. And then from automation perspective, as I said, there is a need to have an automation framework that would not lead to any lock-in from that perspective, right? So that is, when we say end-to-end automation, we are referring to automation across all the domains,
right.
From RAN, transport to core. And there is also need to automate certain aspects of operations. What happened based on our previous experience is that when SIs are engaged, generally the tribal knowledge of the network generally lies with the SI, and it becomes, again, it leads to SI lock-in, as you were saying. So in the overall framework, one of the key elements is to have automation in the operations also.
Okay.
And enable the operators to operate certain, say, networks or all the network elements operate efficiently. That is end-to-end automation. The other aspect, what we believe as an organization, as one of the leading SIs, is to have ability to, say, seamlessly build those applications on the top, right? What we call 5G monetization, or enabling enterprises to create those applications on the top. So this will help again the operators to innovate and not get locked with an SI. These are the key elements.
That's super interesting. And so how is HCLTech implementing these key elements? Like,
sure, absolutely. So HCL has been investing in all the key elements that I talked about. Right, number one, as a design house, we have built robust competencies in various disaggregated and distributed architecture principles. We have been investing heavily in ORAN, RIC community, and that gives us the ability to work very closely with the vendors who are part of the entire ecosystem, and also operators and enterprises. That is number one. Number two, we have built a solution called NOX. Stands for Network Function Onboarding Exchange.
Okay.
That is a kind of open framework that enables these operators and enterprises to onboard network functions on any third-party cards hardware. So we have built some solutions again that will not lead to any SI lock-in. That is number one. Number two, we have also built some solution called network abstraction layer that enables operators to automate operations, and also that enables operators to build the 5G monetization solutions that helps enterprise and operators to build those applications that are required for, say, monetization much more seamlessly. So we bundle all these aspects in a framework called 5G SF. That has all the characteristics of the framework that we talked about. Number one, we have the ability to design, implement, and operate disaggregated network. The second thing is it has the end-to-end automation, starting from, say, pretty much the RAN domain, RAN transport, and core. And the third one is the network abstraction layer that helps operators to improve the user experience and helps enterprises to monetize the 5G networks, or operators to monetize the 5G networks. So this is what we're doing as part of this entire framework. I talked about network function onboarding exchange. We have invested in labs, and some of the one of the industry terms for this is lab as a service, but we generally call that as a network function onboarding exchange, NOX. And we created this framework to help the entire ecosystem to drive this implementation of networks more efficiently without leading to SI or lock-in.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And we've got a little bit of time left, so I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot. I'm going to ask you, because it just occurred to me, do you have any favorite projects that you've worked on, or like especially particularly through TIP, but in general, like that kind of highlight these new things that we've been discussing today?
Oh, sure, absolutely. In those key aspects that I talked about, one is network function onboarding exchange, right? One of the interesting programs that we have been working on is to help one of the leading say hyperscalers to onboard network functions on top of the platform.
Okay, cool.
And we also have been offering the same service for a vendor. So we are covering all the aspects of that vendor has network functions, but those need to be certified in a disaggregated architecture. So the front hall has to be certified, mid hall has to be certified. So these are the projects that are aligned directly with this disaggregated architecture, and that prove that there is no such concern with SI lock-in. That is from onboarding and integrating and deploying that from that perspective. In addition, we also have been very active in automating the RAN domain. So we have been building certain use cases on top of RIC, ORAN RIC.
Yeah.
And again, our objective is to prove that RAN domain can also be automated. So we have recently demonstrated this traffic steering XApp in recent Plugfest, and we now started working on the new use cases that TIP RIA is advocating. So in general, if you look at overall say network, RAN is the last final frontier to be conquered, as I said in the beginning. So this project for us is very interesting, and for the entire ecosystem community as well.
I agree. I think like the stuff that's happening in the RIC and the RAN is fascinating and really interesting, like groundbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to wrap that up, right? We also have been focusing on, say, using 5G as a platform rather than 5G as a pipe. So we have created this solution called network abstraction layer that enables operators to build some of these enterprise applications more seamlessly. So the network capabilities are exposed as a platform through certain APIs. And that platform enables, number one, operators to build those applications. Number two, they can also build these automation solutions much more efficiently. That is the point I was making earlier. When you build such an open API layer as an SI, it enables operators to also use applications more seamlessly. Vendor supplied, the SI supplied tools and applications more seamlessly than getting locked with the SI. Right? That's avoiding vendor lock-in or SI lock-in.
No, totally understood. Great. Well, thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the show, and also we look forward to seeing you in Madrid at Fuse at our own event from the 9th to 11th of October. Yeah, thank you so much, and just wanted to wrap this up by saying TIP has been really doing a great job in fostering the ecosystem, and we have been investing in ORAN RIC, and we'd stay invested in that area. Thank you so much, Rudolph, for having me.
Thank you, Rangan.
Thank you.